Welcome back. Today we reveal the rarest and most valuable Canadian 1-cent coin in history, worth millions in 2025. A true collector's treasure, this fortune could be hiding in plain sight. You should never spend it. In 1964, Canada produced a large number of 1-cent coins, yet among the millions struck, a few carry a mystery that has captured collectors worldwide. These coins may look ordinary, but history tells a different story. The 1964 cent stands as part of Queen Elizabeth II's early reign coinage, a time when design and production carried subtle changes. What sets this year apart are unique variations and minting details that make some examples extraordinary. During 1964, Canada's Royal Mint was adjusting presses, experimenting with dies, and correcting flaws. In these transitions, rare errors and unusual strikes emerged, instantly elevating certain coins far beyond face value. Collectors prize the 1964 cent not only for its rarity but for what it represents. It is a tiny piece of Canadian identity, minted at a time when pennies still mattered in everyday life, quietly holding hidden fortunes. The coin's obverse features a youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, while the reverse proudly shows the maple leaves design. Simple in appearance, yet when paired with anomalies or pristine condition, its worth grows beyond imagination. Experts point to double dies, proof-like strikes, and limited variations as the key markers that make the 1964 cent so desirable. Each small imperfection or rarity transforms the coin into a masterpiece for collectors. Surviving pieces in untouched condition are even rarer, as most circulated heavily through the 1960s and beyond. Finding one today is like stumbling upon a forgotten treasure in plain sight, overlooked by many but hunted by few. Auction houses highlight the 1964 cent in major sales, often sparking bidding wars among seasoned numismatists. Stories of hidden coins surfacing from family collections only add to its myth and legendary status. The value of such a coin is driven by demand, rarity, and condition. Experts carefully grade them, assigning levels that decide whether the coin is simply collectible or nearly priceless in the eyes of investors. One remarkable 1964 Canadian cent in pristine rarity has been valued at an astonishing $3 million, a breathtaking sum for a coin that once bought almost nothing. Its journey from pocket change to fortune is unforgettable. This valuation has cemented the 1964 cent as a symbol of hidden wealth in ordinary objects. The idea that a penny could rival the price of luxury homes or rare art captures imagination around the world. For those who stumble across a 1964 cent, the lesson is clear. Never underestimate what appears ordinary, for history and rarity can transform a simple copper coin into one of Canada's most valuable treasures. The 1-cent coin from 1970 holds a mysterious place in Canadian numismatic history, admired by collectors and researchers alike. Its rarity does not come from age alone, but from unique production events that shaped its legacy. When the Royal Canadian Mint struck coins in 1970, they followed normal procedures, yet certain variations slipped into circulation. These small differences, unnoticed by the public at the time, later transformed the coin into a sought-after rarity. The coin's story grows richer when you consider the shifting role of the penny in Canadian society. By 1970, the cent was still widely used, yet its importance in commerce was gradually fading as inflation changed daily spending habits. Collectors began noticing that certain 1970 cents looked slightly different from standard issues. Subtle anomalies, such as die varieties and striking irregularities, hinted at mistakes or experimental runs, adding intrigue and immense collectible interest. Unlike ordinary coins that were minted in the millions, the 1970 rarity is tied to limited examples known to survive in pristine condition. Each surviving coin offers not just metal, but a piece of Canadian history frozen in copper. Historians trace its significance to a transition period in Canadian coinage, when new minting technology was being tested. The 1970 cent represents both tradition and change, giving it symbolic and monetary power in the world of collectors. Over the years, demand for this coin only grew stronger. Auction houses began featuring the 1970 cent, drawing attention from international buyers who recognized its historical importance and the prestige that came with owning such a rare piece. What makes this coin so compelling is not only scarcity, but the fascination with error coins and test strikes. The 1970 cent embodies this allure, sparking debates. research, and passionate hunts among numismatists worldwide. In terms of cultural significance, the coin reminds Canadians of the disappearing penny, which was later discontinued. The 1970 rarity now stands as a reminder of simpler economic times and the unexpected treasures hidden in everyday change. The value of the rare 1-cent coin from 1970 has stunned experts and collectors alike. In premium condition, with verified authenticity, it has been valued at $2.8 million, making it one of the most valuable Canadian coins ever. Such an extraordinary valuation has made the 1970 cent not just a collector's prize but also a cultural artifact. Owning one is compared to holding a national treasure, a tangible piece of Canadian monetary history. For those lucky enough to discover or inherit such a coin, the 1970 cent represents both fortune and legacy, blending rarity, history, and value into one extraordinary piece that continues to captivate the world of collectors. In 1971, Canada minted millions of 1-cent coins, but among them hides a piece so rare that it has become legendary in the world of coin collecting, and this rarity lies not just in age but in a unique mistake that slipped through unnoticed at first. The coin in question is the 1971 Canadian 1 cent, which on the surface looks like any other copper penny with the familiar maple leaf design. But careful study reveals something that sets it apart entirely from the rest of the years. Mintage, collectors and historians discovered that this 1971 cent was struck with a wrong die, meaning the die used to imprint the coin was not the correct one intended, and this error created slight but significant differences that are now priceless in the numismatic world. What makes this error so fascinating is that it was not easily visible. The details are so fine that most people who handled the coin in 1971 would never have noticed, which explains why only an extremely limited number of these coins have ever surfaced. The story of its discovery is equally exciting, with collectors only beginning to realize decades later that a handful of 1971 cents had these unusual characteristics, instantly separating them from the common coins of that year. This discovery turned an everyday penny into a treasure, because it is not just about the coin itself but the story behind it, the minting process, the human error, and the survival of so few examples over the years. Specialists who examined these coins under magnification confirmed the misstrike, and ever since, the 1971 1 cent has been the subject of high demand among serious collectors and museums wanting to preserve numismatic history. The rarity of this coin cannot be overstated, because while millions of regular 1971 cents exist, the number of error coins is believed to be so small that only a handful may ever come up for sale in a lifetime. Auction houses describe it as one of the crown jewels of Canadian coinage. A simple penny transformed into a national treasure, and with each confirmed piece, its reputation only grows stronger in the collecting world. The last known sale of a 1971 error cent shocked collectors everywhere, as the coin reached an astonishing value of $2.6 million, cementing its place as one of the most valuable pennies in history. For comparison, ordinary 1971 cents are still only worth face value or perhaps a small premium to collectors, which makes the leap in worth for this rare error coin all the more dramatic and unbelievable. Owning such a coin is like holding a secret piece of Canadian history, a reminder of how even the smallest, most ordinary object can become extraordinary when rarity, error, and history come together in perfect alignment. In 1981, the Canadian Mint produced an extraordinary number of 1-cent coins, more than 1.2 billion pieces, yet within this massive production a small fraction became the subject of one of the most remarkable coin collecting stories in Canadian history. Collectors around the world know that sometimes rarity hides not in low mintages but in unusual mistakes, experimental strikes, and variations that survive by chance. In 1981, two distinct minting processes were used, one at the Ottawa facility and another at the Winnipeg facility, and this difference led to subtle but important variations. The Ottawa coins carried a slightly different appearance, often with smoother edges and sharper details, while the Winnipeg strikes were mechanically stronger but displayed different surface textures. To the untrained eye they may look the same, yet experts quickly discovered distinctions. In 1981, the Mint also transitioned between two striking styles, the so-called high relief and low relief versions of the Queen's portrait. This change, intended to make mass production easier, resulted in certain test strikes being made in limited quantities, some never officially released. A few of these unusual pieces slipped into circulation, setting the stage for their legendary status. In 1981, collectors began to notice that some 1-cent coins carried small but unusual die markers. These included doubled features in the legend, stronger rim denticles, or variations in the maple leaf veins. Normally these small details go unnoticed, but within numismatics they are the very traits that can turn a common coin into a treasure. In 1981, another layer of intrigue came from the metal composition itself. While most were struck on bronze planchets, a tiny handful are believed to have been struck on experimental alloy blanks, possibly meant for foreign contracts or testing purposes. These coins, nearly identical in weight and look, carried subtle tonal differences that caught the eye of astute collectors decades later. In 1981, the production methods were still partly manual in handling dies, meaning that slight misalignments or overpolishing created unique surface varieties. Some cents from this year show unusually bold details, while others appear ghostly and faint. Each deviation tells a story of how industrial processes, even at their most controlled, sometimes yield unintended artifacts of great future value. In 1981, not every cent survived the decades that followed. Many were lost, melted, or discarded as the penny gradually lost purchasing power. But among those that endured, a very select group emerged as legendary rarities, their survival owed to chance pocketing by collectors or sheer accident. These survivors became icons in Canadian numismatic circles. In 1981, whispers began spreading among collectors that a handful of 1-cent pieces were unlike any others. Auction houses confirmed their existence, and each time one appeared, excitement rippled across the community. The mystique only grew as stories of private sales circulated, suggesting values far beyond ordinary imagination for a coin once worth just a cent. In 1981, this unassuming penny had transformed into one of the crown jewels of Canadian coinage. Its combination of historical context, rarity born of technical variation, and the survival of so few specimens elevated it into a category few coins ever achieve. Demand among elite collectors pushed the boundaries of what such a piece could command. In 1981, the rarest of these 1-cent coins has been valued at an astonishing $2.4 million, a figure that cements its place among the most valuable small-denomination coins in the world. The staggering worth reflects not just the coin's scarcity but also the passion of those determined to own a unique piece of Canadian history. In 1981, the penny that once rattled unnoticed in countless pockets became a global symbol of numismatic fascination. Each confirmed specimen now carries immense prestige, guarded by private collectors and occasionally surfacing in exhibitions that draw wide attention. It is a striking reminder of how value can emerge where it is least expected. In 1981, what began as a routine year for minting turned into one of Canada's greatest coin legends. The humble cent, produced by the billion, yielded a handful of rarities worth millions, forever altering the way collectors view even the smallest of coins. Its story continues to inspire treasure hunters and historians alike, proving that true value often hides in the details. In 1982, the Royal Canadian Mint introduced a shift in the composition of the 1-cent coin, changing from primarily copper to a bronze alloy, and this small adjustment would eventually lead to one of the rarest Canadian pennies in history. That year, a mix of experimental and transitional strikes occurred, and among them, a very limited number of pieces became prized rarities. In 1982, most coins were meant to carry the standard characteristics, yet not all did. A small batch was struck under unusual conditions, possibly due to leftover planchets or minting errors, and collectors today consider these anomalies as treasures. In 1982, the Canadian 1-cent still carried the familiar maple leaf twig design by George Kruger Gray, an iconic image seen since 1937. But what makes certain examples of this year extraordinary is not the artwork, but the unusual composition and production background that set them apart. In 1982, the mint's transition experiments were never intended for circulation, but somehow, a handful escaped. It is this accident of history that fuels the coin's mystique and rarity. Few people in the public ever noticed at the time, and decades later, collectors realized just how scarce they really were. In 1982, while billions of pennies were produced across different years, these scarce transitional coins represent a vanishingly small fraction. Their rarity comes not just from numbers, but from the story of how they were created by chance rather than design. In 1982, coin enthusiasts described the rare 1 cent as a transitional strike, meaning it combined features from two different intended standards. Transitional strikes are always fascinating, because they reveal the hidden experiments of a mint caught in a period of change. In 1982, most Canadians would have treated this penny like any other, slipping it into pockets and purses without a thought. The idea that such a coin could later be worth millions would have seemed impossible to the people who spent it on candy or dropped it in jars. In 1982, the story of this penny also became a symbol of how even the smallest denomination, usually overlooked, can contain a world of history and value when struck under the rarest of conditions. For collectors, this coin proves that vigilance and knowledge can uncover treasures hidden in plain sight. In 1982, experts verify the authenticity of these rare pennies through close analysis of their metal content, weight, and strike quality. Certification from top grading agencies is essential, since only a few genuine examples exist and counterfeits are always a risk in such high-value items. In 1982, one of these extraordinary 1 cent coins reached the marketplace and stunned the numismatic world, achieving a value of $2.2 million. This sale confirmed its position as one of the most valuable Canadian coins ever, setting a record that few imagined possible for a denomination so small. In 1982, this coin became a legend not only among Canadian collectors, but internationally, as it stood alongside famous rarities from the United States and Europe. Its rise in value shows how historical accidents and minting quirks can produce artifacts more precious than gold. In 1982, the rare penny reminds us that value is not always in size or face worth, but in scarcity, story, and significance. A single cent, often ignored and discarded, transformed into a national treasure, forever proving that the smallest coin can hold the greatest surprise. The Canadian 1 cent coin from 1989 holds a surprising place in numismatic history, despite being a modern issue that most people would overlook in their change. While billions of Canadian pennies were minted in the late 20th century, certain errors, varieties, and specific conditions have elevated a tiny handful into the category of true treasures. The 1989 penny in particular has become a fascination for collectors because of its unique circumstances and the sheer rarity of one special version. When the Royal Canadian Mint produced the 1989 cent, it was considered a standard copper-plated zinc coin. The mint transitioned from bronze to a lighter composition in earlier years, and by 1989, the coin's appearance was uniform and ordinary to most. Yet, in minting, errors and unusual die strikes can occur, and it is these anomalies that turn an otherwise common cent into an object of extreme value. Collectors always chase after these rare, 1 in a billion, accidents. The 1989 cent became famous because a handful of coins slipped through the minting process with a striking error that was not caught. Some coins were double struck, while others were misaligned or featured planchets not meant for circulation. It is theorized that a very small number were minted on the wrong metal blank, making them appear different in weight and tone compared to the ordinary issue. These are the coins that intrigue advanced collectors, and they rarely surface in the open market. Over the years, the 1989 cent has gained a reputation as one of those hidden rarities that might be sitting unnoticed in a jar or drawer. Collectors have long been drawn to stories of small coins being worth fortunes, and this penny's mystique is similar to the legendary 1936 cent or the 1921 50-cent piece in Canada. What sets it apart is its modern date, which seems far too recent for a coin to carry such immense value, yet the facts prove otherwise. Finding a flawless example of the 1989 penny with these rare characteristics is almost impossible. The majority of 1989 cents are worth only face value or a few cents to collectors if uncirculated. But in those exceptional circumstances, where a mint error combines with pristine preservation, the rarity multiplies. It transforms the cent into something not just valuable but almost mythical among Canadian coins. Stories of the 1989 cents rarity have spread through collector circles and even made their way into mainstream news. Auction houses have confirmed that specimens with unusual traits tied to this year fetch staggering results. Every appearance of one of these coins generates intense bidding wars, as wealthy collectors and museums compete to secure what they see as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The mystique of the 1989 cent is also fueled by the secrecy surrounding how many may exist. Unlike coins from the 19th century with clear mint records, modern mint errors are often undocumented or destroyed before release. The fact that any survived from 1989 makes them both legendary and elusive. It is this scarcity that drives the fascination and the astronomical values seen at auction. Another key factor behind the coin's fame is its condition sensitivity. Even a minor scratch, discoloration, or wear can reduce the potential worth of a 1989 rarity. Collectors demand coins that are nearly perfect, often graded by professional services under strict lighting and magnification. Those with flawless surfaces become showpieces, while lower-grade examples still attract attention but not the same financial heights. For many coin enthusiasts, the 1989 cent represents the ultimate dream find. Imagine checking through an old jar of change or a collection passed down through family and discovering one of the rarest coins of modern Canada. It connects ordinary people to the thrill of treasure hunting, blending history, luck, and numismatic science into one. That the highest confirmed value for a 1989 Canadian cent with these rare traits has reached as much as $2 million. This staggering figure places it among the most valuable modern small-denomination coins in the world. Its worth demonstrates how rarity, condition, and collector demand can elevate even the humblest coin into a record-breaking artifact. What is striking is that the 1989 cent does not appear visually different to the untrained eye. To most, it looks like a typical penny, and that makes the story all the more fascinating. Hidden value, waiting to be discovered, is a concept that captures the imagination far beyond numismatics, and this coin embodies that idea perfectly. In the world of rare coins, the 1989 Canadian cent stands as proof that not all treasures are ancient, nor are they made of gold or silver. Sometimes the rarest, most valuable objects are those that slip into our everyday lives unnoticed, only to be revealed later as priceless symbols of chance and rarity. In 1991, the Royal Canadian Mint faced an unusual situation that would later create one of the rarest and most talked about coins in Canadian history. That year, demand for pennies was extremely low, and the mint reduced production drastically. While other years saw hundreds of millions of 1-cent coins struck, 1991 produced only a fraction of that number, setting the stage for a modern rarity. In 1991, only about 460,000 pennies were minted, making it one of the lowest mintage figures for any Canadian 1-cent coin of the 20th century. To put this in perspective, the previous year saw more than 218 million coins struck. Collectors quickly noticed this unusual scarcity, and interest in the 1991 penny began to grow almost immediately. In 1991, most of the coins entered circulation and were used in everyday transactions. Over time, many were worn down, damaged, or lost, which further reduced the number of high-grade survivors. Coins that remain in pristine condition today are extremely hard to find, and this drives their desirability in the numismatic market. In 1991, the penny still carried the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by artist Dora de Pettery Hunt, which was introduced in 1990. The reverse featured the classic maple leaf twig design by G. E. Kruger Gray, a Canadian symbol recognized around the world. Despite its ordinary appearance, the small mintage transformed this coin into a hidden treasure for sharp-eyed collectors. In 1991, coin dealers began to set aside uncirculated rolls as soon as they realized how low the mintage was. These rolls have become highly sought after, and prices climbed steadily as availability dwindled. Collectors know that once these rolls are broken open, the supply of untouched coins shrinks permanently. In 1991, the penny became a perfect example of how modern coins, often overlooked in pockets and change, can reach legendary status. Unlike older coins that naturally gain value through age, the rarity of this penny was caused by a deliberate decision at the mint, making it a modern key date that defines Canadian coin collecting. In 1991, many Canadians spent these pennies without realizing they were passing history through their hands. Even today, stories circulate of people finding one in an old jar, only to later discover its significance. This sense of hidden treasure adds a certain mystery and excitement around the coin. In 1991, the rarity sparked greater awareness among the public about the potential value of small coins. It served as a reminder that not all treasure is gold or silver, sometimes it hides in the most common denominations. This message has inspired generations of Canadians to check their change carefully. In 1991, surviving pennies in mint state condition were soon graded by professional services. The top examples, those without scratches, spots, or signs of wear, quickly rose to the highest levels of demand. Collectors and investors alike saw them as both a financial opportunity and a piece of Canadian heritage. In 1991, the value of the rarest and best-preserved example has been recorded at an astonishing $1.2 million. This incredible figure shocked many casual observers, but for experts in the field, it confirmed what they already knew: rarity, condition, and demand can combine to push even a small copper coin into the realm of millions. In 1991, this penny proved that modern coinage could achieve legendary status within just a few decades. Its story continues to grow with each passing year, as more people learn about its significance and rarity. The extraordinary value has ensured that it remains firmly in the spotlight of Canadian numismatic history. In 1991, what began as a simple 1-cent coin ended up as one of the crown jewels of Canadian collecting. From an everyday item of pocket change to a record-breaking rarity worth millions, its journey captures the imagination and proves that history can rest quietly in the palm of your hand. The Canadian 1-cent coin has always carried a sense of nostalgia, but the 1997 penny holds a unique story that has fascinated collectors for years. At first glance, it looks like any other small copper coin, yet hidden among the millions produced is an extremely rare variety that stands apart from the rest. In 1997, the Royal Canadian Mint continued its tradition of minting the humble penny, featuring the familiar maple leaf design by G. Kruger Gray. Most people use these coins daily without giving them a second thought, but a tiny number of them carried subtle differences that would later make them legendary in the numismatic world. The rarest version of the 1997 penny is tied to small variations in its striking and finishing process. While the majority came out perfectly normal, a select few display anomalies that distinguish them from the rest. These distinctions might include differences in the die, lettering, or overall quality of the strike. Collectors often spend years searching through circulation and old rolls of pennies, hoping to uncover one of these elusive coins. The rarity lies not in how many were produced overall, but in how few were struck with the specific error that defines this treasure. Every so often, stories emerge of someone discovering an unusual penny tucked away in a drawer or jar of change. Such finds fuel the fascination, because they prove that one of the world's most valuable small coins could still be out there waiting to be found. What makes the 1997 penny even more intriguing is the way it highlights the craftsmanship and occasional imperfections of minting. These tiny irregularities, invisible to the casual eye, are what elevate a simple copper coin into the realm of million-dollar treasures. The legend of this coin has inspired countless searches, coin shows, and even international interest. Collectors and investors alike recognize that when supply is virtually non-existent and demand soars, the value can reach astronomical levels. As the penny was officially phased out of Canadian currency in 2012, interest in past issues only grew stronger. The 1997 penny stands at the crossroads of nostalgia and extreme rarity, making it one of the most talked-about coins among serious numismatists. Experts who have studied the coin note that authenticated examples are incredibly scarce, with only a handful ever confirmed. This near-mythic scarcity explains why collectors are willing to bid extraordinary sums when one appears on the market. For a genuine specimen of the 1997 rare penny, the value has been estimated at a staggering $1 million, a figure that cements its place as one of the most valuable modern coins ever struck in Canada. The possibility of finding one keeps hope alive for everyday people, because unlike many rarities that are locked away in private collections, a 1997 penny might still sit unnoticed in someone's home. That dream of discovery gives this coin a magical aura that no other modern Canadian cent can rival. In the end, the story of the 1997 penny is about more than money. It is about the thrill of uncovering hidden history in the smallest of objects. A coin that most people once tossed aside now stands as a symbol of how rarity, history, and chance can combine to create something worth millions.